we join together tonight to recognize and honor Len Van Roon Sr. Len was born, believe it or not, in East Kildonan 98 years ago, but moved to Charleswood as a young boy, and his father found the perfect land to establish the family farm. As a boy, Len used to snare rabbits along a path through the bush on their property where no trees grew, and that became his boyhood trap line. In the 1970s, Len discovered that this old trail through the property was the main Pembina Trail south from the passage at Berkeley Street, where tens of thousands of carts headed every year down to Pembina, North Dakota, to follow the buffalo and the huge fall and spring hunts. Many years later, when Fort Garrett School Division and Assiniboine South School Division merged, Len and his wife Verna suggested the name Pembina Trail School Division be adopted to recognize the old historic trail through Charleswood, as well as the more modern Pembina Trail that much later became the route of the present Pembina Highway. Len lost his dad, a streetcar driver, as well as a market gardener, to cancer while still a young boy. However, his resourceful mother raised Len and chickens and vegetables as a single parent, and he had an interesting childhood in a very rural Charleswood from the 1920s. Riding a bicycle or walking to the large 4-room old red school built in 1919, still don't know where that was. Yeah? Or riding in the Fraser's horse-drawn wagon when it was cold or muddy, or sometimes even skiing behind the wagon. Charleswood Road only had a few neighbors on the entire street. In 1941, Len was conscripted to go to war, and he was the last person who should have gone to war, leaving his mother to run a farm alone as a widow with an only child. He made the case that he should not go, but was not successful. And he became determined to do the best job that he could during World War II, if he had to be there. At that time, Len was already dating a lovely young lady, Verna, whom he had met at the tiny one-room Charleswood United Church on Robin Boulevard in Hearthstone. He was afraid that he might not come back from the war, so he didn't want to marry. But he kept in close contact with Verna as he wrote over 1,100 letters home to friends and family, and of course, mostly to Verna. He wrote nearly a letter a day, while he was still under very trying wartime circumstances. He still has close to 1,000 of these letters that have been kept right up until today, and they have all been digitized and transcribed and remain preserved for posterity in 2 large binders kept proudly in his living room. Len served in the 19th Field Regiment, Royal Canadian Army, as an Operation Post Assistant, and he spent much of the war close to or behind enemy lines in a unit of just 6 men who had their own Sherman tank, just like the one in front of the Charleswood Legion today. They watched the artillery shells land and radioed back corrections to the firing. It was a very hazardous job that few soldiers survived. Len was the second lowest rank available, but he says he was the fastest and the best trench digger, and that kept him alive when he wasn't protected in their tank. He was in the first force to land at Juno Beach, and the Canadians in his unit traveled the furthest inland of any fighting forces, close to 18 miles away from the coast, and right next to a large division of German Panzer tanks. His job, carrying a bulky radio on his back, was to redirect the Allies' firing from large guns offshore at the enemy forces on the beach, to provide some protection for the forces that were landing. This was an extremely dangerous position and a heavy responsibility for a young man in his early 20s. Subsequently, he joined in the liberation of the Netherlands. Len tells school children that he walked from those beaches across France and Belgium and Holland and eventually into Germany, although he says he rode in their tank much of the time and didn't just walk. He still has the same army boots that landed on Juno Beach and takes them into schools to show the students, although he never does remember them getting wet when he jumped into the water from their landing craft while under heavy machine fire. And Len's boots are over there on the table.
Yes.
After victory in Europe, Len returned home and married Verna, and they began their new life together in Charleswood, raising a family of 4 children. They became involved in the community. This set the pattern they would follow for the rest of their lives. It was a great partnership, and I knew I'd worked with Verna, so I could attest to this, but this is an early story that Len Jr. shared about their early years together. Returned soldiers received a bonus of $500. Len and Verna decided to build a new chicken coop with the money. At the time, Verna was 8 months pregnant and took to shingling the roof. A neighbor came by and saw her. He took Len aside and said, "You better get her off that roof." So then Len thought about it and went in and called the doctor, who asked, "Does she like shingling?" Len replied, "Yes." So the doctor said, "Well, let her be." Fortunately, she did not fall off the roof and she finished the job. As the years passed, this stalwart couple saw their children grow, their farm develop from a chicken farm into a chicken farm and tree nursery, and they found time to direct their energies into the needs of the community. They supported each other in whatever activity and job each took on. Verna chaired the Charleswood Winnipeg Centennial Committee, and her committee spent countless hours working to establish the Assiniboine Forest, an amazing project that no one thought was possible, although everyone thought it was a great idea. Some of the land was held by landowners in Canada and speculators from outside the country, so all had to be contacted to arrange land transfers. And we see the results every time we pass Assiniboine Forest. It is such an honor for this Rotary Club to be involved as custodians and protectors of this valuable piece of nature. This wonderful project was joined by other legacy projects, starting the Wellington Crescent bike path, saving and restoring the Caron House, which is the oldest farmhouse remaining on the West Assiniboine River. For over 10 years, Len and Verna worked to assemble the names of 20 men from Charleswood and Headingley who gave their lives in World Wars I and II, and to build the memorial at Berkeley and Rockland Boulevard. 2 of the men during World War I and 18 during World War II, some as young as 17. Len has pictures of all of the men except for one, still searching. 7 street names in Ridgewood West are named after these men, and the plan is to honor all 20 with street and park names in the development as an ongoing legacy of remembrance. And then there is the Charleswood Historical Society, which led to the establishment of the Charleswood Museum. Verna and Len were among the folks who recognize that a great society respects and remembers its past. This organization shares the interesting history with school children and holds regular talks, which are open to the rest of us on a Monday night. Doesn't make time for Rotarians to go. And also runs the museum. The aforementioned chicken coop had long been the storehouse of valuable artifacts with historical value, needing to be appreciated by others, and they found a home in the new museum on Rockland Boulevard. A secret. The coop is filling up again with objects of historical interest. Len and Verna were involved in church activities, speaking to school classes, leadership in brownies, guides, scouts. Always they kept busy, serving the community and helping others. When the Eric Coy Arena was built, Len worked for the city at the rink, and after retirement he found an outlet for his creativity, art classes, and the result is 400 plus paintings. A later interesting development has been the creation of guffle wharfs on his property. The meaning of the name can best be described by Lem. These days, Lem can be seen riding around Charleswood on his scooter.
So, Len, if you could come up here beside us, that would be wonderful.
That's too long.
It is my honor.
Oh, boy.
It is my honor in recognition of your service to the country and betterment of this community. The Winnipeg Charleswood Rotary Club is honored to present Leonard Van Roon Sr. with Rotary's Paul Harris Award for practicing Rotary's motto, service above self. And we thank you and we remember Verna for all that both of you have done to contribute to a better society. And we have for you a certificate which could certainly be framed in the future, and a pin. So I'll get the pin on you first.
Good catch, Nancy.
It's still good. And your certificate. The Rotary Foundation of Rotary International presents to Leonard Van Roon, hereby named the Paul Harris Fellow, in appreciation of tangible and significant assistance given for the furtherance of better understanding and friendly relations among peoples of the world. There we go. Thank you very much.
When you come back to a community like this, it's really something special. And there's so many people that are contributing to the welfare of the community that seems like any effort that I put in isn't very much. But my good wife was so good at organizing the community and finding places to help people. And she had the ability to find and train people that were perhaps a little bit shy about starting out. And she said, of course you could do that. And she just kept at it. And knowing her ability to do this, I was kind of backup, but that was it. We have 64 years together, and we admired all the effort that went into the community to make it a better place. And this association typifies that belief that we can make a community better in a small or big or whatever kind of information we could install in the community. It's been wonderful to live here. It's been wonderful to see what a community can do. So thank you very much. I really want to appreciate the fact that this has been recognized, and I'll cherish this. Thank you.
Some garland.